Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a big stack of trade data and a national development blueprint.
Yeah, and we're kind of laying them right over each other.
Exactly. To understand something really crucial, the push for industrialization in Africa, and we're zeroing in on Tanzania specifically.
This is really about how these, huge abstract numbers, we're talking trade figures for the whole continent, 2013 to 2023, how they actually translate into very specific actions on the ground.
Like building a manufacturing school that focuses on, believe it or not, making detergent.
Right. It sounds small, but it connects to the big picture.
So our mission today is to connect these persistent trade deficits, these big negative numbers, to a very specific kind of sequenced industrial strategy that's designed to tackle them.
And to do that, we'll be talking about products using HS codes.
Right, the harmonized system codes. It's like the global code for anything that gets traded. We're looking at everything, but also really digging into two codes. HS39, that's plastics.
And HS34, which covers things like soap, detergents, basically cleaning products.
And there's one key metric we really need to understand to get a handle on the health of all this trade.
Yes, the import-export coverage ratio.
That ratio is going to be like our main guide through this.
It sounds technical,
Right.
maybe, but it's actually super simple and tells you so much.
How does it work?
You just divide the total value of what a country sells its exports by the total value of what it buys its imports.
Okay.
If you get 100% or more, great, you've got a trade surplus. You're selling more than you're buying.
But if it's under 100%?
Then you've got a trade deficit. You're buying more than you're selling. And that ratio really highlights any structural imbalance in the economy.
Okay, so let's start big picture, though. The whole continent, Africa aggregated all products over that 10-year period, 2013 to 2023. What's the story?
Well, honestly, it's pretty sobering. The deficit isn't just there. It actually got much, much worse.
How much worse?
In 2013, the continent was almost in balance. The deficit was relatively small, about $2.94 billion.
Okay, manageable maybe?
But by 2023, that number had just ballooned. We're talking a deficit of nearly $80 billion.
Wow, hold on. That's a massive jump in just 10 years, almost $80 billion. What happened? Is that just commodity prices swinging or something else?
It's definitely a mix of things, but fundamentally, it points to a growing reliance across the continent on finished goods from outside.
And the ratio shows that.
Clearly. That import-export coverage ratio, it fell from 99.47%, nearly balanced in 2013, down to just 88.83% in 2023.
So Africa as a whole is consistently buying significantly more than it's selling to the rest of the world.
That's the takeaway, a structural shift towards importing.
Okay, now let's zoom in. Tanzania, how does it compare?
Well, if Africa's picture was sobering, Tanzania's is even more stark. It shows a much deeper structural challenge.
Really? How so?
Their current account deficits, they stayed really big throughout that whole decade, around $7.8 billion to $8.1 billion every year. That deficit is like a constant leakage of capital out of the country.
Okay, that's a consistently large gap. And what about the coverage ratio for Tanzania?
Yeah, that's the really telling part. For all products, it's consistently way below 50%.
Below 50%.
Yeah. In 2023, it was 48.12%. So think about what that means for you, the listener. For every dollar Tanzania earns from exports.
It spends about $2 on imports.
Roughly, yes. That kind of severe imbalance really shapes the economic reality. It dictates policy.
So if you're a policymaker seeing that number, what do you do?
Well, when your country is set up like that, spending twice what it earns globally, your top priority has to become industrialization, and specifically import substitution. You just don't have a choice but to start making the things you're currently buying from other countries.
Okay, right. So that massive $7.8 billion deficit forces a focus. Let's unpack that focus then. The development plans we're seeing, they aren't talking about building like microchip factories first.
No, much more basic.
They're aiming at plastics, HS39, and cleaning products, HS34. Why these? They seem almost too simple.
It's because they represent a huge, and you could argue unnecessary drain on the country's money. Just look at the 2023 numbers for Tanzania alone.
Okay.
For plastics, bottles, packaging, all that stuff, the import bill was almost $696 million.
Nearly $700 million just on plastics. Wow. And the deficit.
The deficit in plastics was close to $658 million.
Yeah.
Huge gap.
Okay, let's use our ratio again. What does that look like for plastics?
It's tiny. The import-export coverage ratio for plastics was only 5.45%.
5%. So what does that mean practically?
It means, roughly speaking, for every 100 plastic items being used in Tanzania, maybe 5 or 6 are made domestically.
The rest are imported, almost
Ah,
total dependency for a basic material.
it
Yeah,
kind
and cleaning products, soap, detergent, bleach, same story.
similar, yeah. Not quite as extreme, but still a big gap.
Yeah.
For HS34 cleaning products, imports were around $93 million in 2023.
Leaving a deficit of,
Over $62 million.
yeah.
The coverage ratio there was 33.52%. Better than plastics, but still.
Still means 2/3 of the soap and detergent on the shelves is coming from outside Tanzania?
Precisely.
So why target these specifically? Why not, I don't know, textiles or something else basic?
It comes down to how economists classify these goods. Both cleaning products and basic plastics fall into the category of consumer staples.
Staples, meaning essential.
Yeah, essential for daily life, for sanitation, public health.
Hmm.
People buy them no matter what the economy is doing. Demand is pretty inelastic.
And often maybe without strong brand loyalty, especially for basic versions.
That's often true too, which means the demand is huge, it's consistent, and it's always there.
Okay, I get it. That consistency makes them a perfect, maybe lower risk place to start substituting imports with local production.
Exactly right. The technology needed to start isn't, rocket science.
Yeah.
And you have this guaranteed massive local demand waiting. It makes the business case for local production much stronger, almost instantly viable.
And you mentioned this isn't just about the Tanzanian market.
Right. That's where regional integration becomes so important. The potential market scales up massively.
So thinking about the AFCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area, what does that market look like?
The numbers get really big. Just in 2023, across all the AFCFTA countries, the total import market for cleaning products was $3.53 billion.
Billion with a B.
And
Yeah.
for plastics, $26.61 billion. Wow. Add them up, and you're looking at over $30 billion worth of imports just for these two basic product categories across Africa.
So if Tanzania can successfully build up these industries, the potential market is enormous.
Absolutely. A national manufacturing school suddenly looks like a potential engine for regional export.
Okay, this is where it starts to get really interesting for me. It's not just about, making soap locally to save foreign currency. There's a deeper strategy here, right? Something the research calls the industrialization fabric.
Yes, that's the core idea, the theoretical model underpinning this.
What does that mean, industrialization fabric?
It's based on looking at how countries have successfully industrialized in the past. The key insight is that you generally can't just leapfrog into making really complex, high-tech stuff like, say, advanced agricultural machinery or robotics.
You need a foundation first.
Exactly. You have to build up a reliable basic industry first. That's where you develop the foundational skills, the local supply chains, generate some initial capital. You have to weave that basic fabric before you can make more complex things.
So it's like a strategic roadmap, climbing the ladder of industrial complexity step by step.
It is. It's a very clear sequence. The term used in the research, borrowed from Turkish, is sanayileşme örgüsü.
Which means?
Literally, it translates to something like industrialization weaving or industrialization fabric.
Okay.
And the plan starts with cleaning products. That's the first step, the core, final product for consumers.
Because it's basic and high demand.
Right. And because making it immediately creates demand for the next stage. Plastics products for the bottles and containers, and plastics recycling.
Ah, okay. So cleaning products pull the plastics industry along with them.
Correct. And only once those two basic high-volume industries start to get strong and efficient can the country realistically move into the really high-precision, capital-intensive stuff.
Like CNC machines and metal processing, the tools that make the tools.
Precisely. That's the sequence. Basic consumer goods first, then intermediate inputs like plastics, then the capital goods like machine tools.
So the cleaning products industry isn't really the end goal itself. It's more like the engine starter.
That's a great way to put it. It acts as the initial economic synergy engine.
How does making soap and bleach actually push a country towards high-tech manufacturing? Can you trace that synergy?
Yeah, the research lays out this cascade really nicely. Growth in cleaning products directly pulls along several other more advanced sectors.
Okay, let's trace it. Start with the chemicals inside the bottle.
Okay, first, the chemistry industry. To make good quality, affordable soap or detergent, you need more than just basic ingredients. You need complex chemicals like surfactants, enzymes, maybe bio-based chemicals eventually.
Oh.
So demand for those locally pushes investment into chemical R&D, maybe green chemistry, developing new molecules. It starts moving the economy up the value chain towards applied science.
Okay, that makes sense. Then the bottle itself.
Exactly. The packaging. You can't sell liquid detergent without a plastic bottle and a cap, right?
Obvious when you say it.
So this immediate, huge demand for packaging stimulates the plastics industry. And this isn't just simple stuff. It requires quite specific, precise manufacturing processes.
Like what?
Things like blow molding. That's the technique used to inflate a tube of hot plastic into a perfectly shaped bottle, usually using HDPE or PT plastics.
Okay.
And injection molding, which is needed for more complex parts like the bottle caps, maybe the trigger sprayers, things like that.
Yeah.
Those need high precision.
And getting those machines, those processes running locally,
Yeah.
that requires know-how and tools.
Yes. And that's the crucial link to the high-tech step. To make those plastic parts consistently and well, especially the caps and triggers, you need really precise molds.
The metal shapes the plastic goes into.
Exactly. And to make those molds efficiently and accurately, ideally locally, you have to invest in the machine, mold, and automation industry. This means acquiring and learning how to use high-precision CNC machinery, computer numerical control machines, and the sophisticated software that runs them.
Wow.
Plus, it drives demand for automating the filling and packaging lines, too.
So making affordable bleach literally creates demand for high-precision CNC machine tools and automation skills. That's the synergy pathway.
That's the core of the fabric idea. And there's one more important synergy, the circular economy aspect.
Because you're suddenly producing millions of plastic bottles.
Right. This whole cycle uses huge amounts of plastic. So the strategy naturally pushes for developing recycling infrastructure. You need systems to collect used bottles, process them, and meet targets for using recycled plastic content in new packaging. It closes the loop.
Okay, so it becomes a whole industrial ecosystem, starting from something really basic. But this needs skilled people. You can't just import a CNC machine and expect it to run itself.
Absolutely not. Which brings us back to the practical implementation. This is where the manufacturing school project fits in. It's the human capital piece.
And this school is part of Tanzania's bigger national strategy.
Yes, it slots right into their overarching plans like the National Development Vision 2025 and the Integrated Industrial Development Strategy 2025. The school is designed as that concrete grassroots step to actually build the Sanaleshme Orgusu, the industrial fabric, by creating the skilled workforce.
So how does it work? How does this school turn students into, well, entrepreneurs who can actually take on established global importers?
It sounds like it's designed to be very intensive and practical.
Yeah.
It's focused on technical information transfer. The goal isn't just to train workers, it's specifically to cultivate industrial entrepreneurs alongside skilled technicians. The curriculum mixes theory with a lot of hands-on production. Students apparently work as employees in the school's own mini-factory.
So they're actually making products while learning?
Seems so. And crucially, they also get training in sales and marketing, the business side. The whole point is to equip them not just to get a job, but to start their own businesses that directly compete with imports in those target sectors.
And I read the school aims to fund itself by selling the products the students make.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting pragmatic model. It ensures the training stays directly linked to what the market actually needs and wants.
And the product list they teach is very specific, too.
Right. It directly targets those import deficits we talked about. The plan covers teaching how to make 11 different cleaning products, everything from basic surface cleaners to industrial-strength bleach,
Okay.
plus 7 different plastic manufacturing and recycling techniques, specifically including the injection molding and blow molding needed for packaging. They're literally teaching people how to make the exact things Tanzania is currently importing in huge volumes.
Systematically building the capacity to replace imports.
That seems to be the goal.
And these new entrepreneurs, these graduates, they aren't just looking at the Tanzanian market, right? We mentioned the regional aspect.
Absolutely critical. The regional trade blocks provide the necessary scale for these new businesses to really thrive. We talked about the FCFTA continent-wide.
But even closer to home.
Tanzania is geographically really well positioned. It hosts the headquarters of the East African Community, the EAC, in Arusha.
Right.
The EAC is aiming for deep economic integration, customs union, common market, eventually maybe more. And just within the EAC countries, that combined regional import market for cleaning products and plastics is worth about $3.6 billion a year.
So a huge nearby market.
Huge. And then there's also the Southern African Development Community, SADC, another major regional bloc focused on integration. That represents another $8.2 billion import market for these same product categories.
So a successful business started out of this manufacturing school has potentially billions of dollars in accessible markets right next door.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It turns a local training initiative into something with massive regional economic potential.
It's still kind of amazing to think that starting with something as simple as a plastic bottle cap could be a key to national industrial transformation. But you mentioned this approach, this planned sequence development, starting with basics. It has been done before.
Yes, there's a really interesting historical parallel discussed in the research. Turkey's first big industrialization push.
When was this?
Back in the 1930s. Their first major step in an industrialization plan ran from 1934 to 1938.
And their starting point was similar.
Very similar in some ways. They were facing structural economic weakness and years of persistent trade deficits, particularly from 1923 to 1929.
Okay, but hang on. The world is so different now. Global supply chains, container shipping, capital flows. How relevant is an industrial plan from before World War II?
That's a fair question. The argument isn't that you copy the plan exactly, but that the logic of sequencing still holds. Turkey's 1930s strategy was very much state-led. State-planned, they call it moderate statism. And critically, it focused first on basic consumer goods where they had big import bills. Things like textiles, paper, sugar, basic chemicals.
Import substitution for everyday items.
Exactly the same core idea as Tanzania focusing on soap and plastics now. They targeted things people used every single day.
And did it work for Turkey back then? What was the outcome?
According to the historical accounts, yes, it was remarkably successful in its goals. It established key state-owned industrial enterprises like Summerbank for textiles and Bank for resources and energy.
Okay, built institutions.
And most importantly for this discussion, it actually reversed the trade balance. Turkey managed to achieve trade surpluses between 1930 and 1937.
Really? So it validated the idea that this kind of planned sequence development, starting with basics, could actually work relatively quickly to build a foundation.
It suggests that, yes, it showed that you could build a more resilient industrial base needed for heavier industrialization later on by starting with those foundational consumer staples.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. For you, the listener, trying to understand what a blueprint for modern African industrialization might actually look like, what's the main takeaway here?
I think the data paints a really clear picture of the challenge, of this huge dependence on imports, especially for basic goods, leading to significant capital leakage.
Right. The deficits tell that story.
But the Tanzanian strategy, starting with these high-demand basics like cleaning products and plastics, offers a really detailed, actionable blueprint for tackling that challenge. It shows how building capacity in seemingly low-tech areas
Is actually the necessary first step.
Yes, it's the catalyst that then creates the demand, the skills, and the capital needed for the more high-tech sectors, the specialized chemistry, the CNC machining, the automation.
So it kind of flips the usual development narrative. It's not necessarily about waiting for some big foreign investor to build a high-tech factory.
It suggests maybe not. It suggests that planned, targeted investment in vocational training for making basic consumer staples can actually generate the conditions, the funding, the demand, the skilled labor needed for those more advanced industries to emerge organically from within.
Which leads us, I think, to a final provocative thought for you to consider.
If this whole model hinges on successful implementation, on making sure the vocational training actually connects to industrial output, that it measurably reduces the trade deficit, that it really does foster successful local entrepreneurs. How do you track that?
How do you measure if the fabric is actually being woven effectively over the long term, especially when political priorities can shift?
Exactly. How do you maintain that focus, like Turkey managed to do in the 1930s? The research suggests the need for something like a National Industrialization Index, a Indeksi.
A specific set of metrics to track progress.
Yeah, metrics focused specifically on things like, is the vocational training working? Are graduates starting businesses? Is the current count deficit in these targeted sectors actually shrinking? Is the use of advanced manufacturing tech like CNC increasing?
So the challenge for you, the listener, is maybe to think about this. How crucial are those kinds of concrete, measurable, long-term metrics for any country trying to follow this kind of sequenced industrial strategy? Are they essential to maintain momentum and political will, especially when resources are scarce?